Welcome to This Explainer. If you're a focused learner looking to understand exactly how cutting-edge technology actually solves massive real-world problems, well, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're unpacking the TayyibMilk IQ system. It's this brilliant fusion of advanced computer science and agricultural market strategy. We're going to explore how a highly nuanced mathematical concept, known as fuzzy logic, is being deployed to protect the absolute purity of the global dairy supply, all while building an incredibly lucrative software business in the process.
Okay, let's dive right into this structure. Here's our roadmap for today. First, the $2,000 dairy thread. Second, the fuzzy logic engine. Third, a live app demonstration. Fourth, market strategy and revenue. Fifth, a strategic SWOT analysis. And finally, number 6, the 3-phase growth roadmap.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the $2,000 dairy threat.
To really appreciate this technology, we absolutely have to understand the massive financial stakes it addresses. $2,000. Now, that is not some abstract annual projection. No, that is the devastating, instantaneous cost commercial dairy farm operators face when just one single bulk milk tank is rejected at the processing plant. Just imagine it. A farm does everything perfectly, only to have hundreds of liters of milk completely ruined, thrown away, and their profits just wiped out for the day, all because of one contaminated batch.
So what actually causes that massive loss? The culprit is subclinical mastitis. The crucial point here is right there in the word subclinical. This is an invisible inflammatory disease. There are literally no physical symptoms. The cow looks perfectly healthy, the milk looks totally normal to the naked eye, but beneath the surface an infection is brewing. Now, traditional digital monitoring systems completely fail here, and that's because they rely on rigid binary temperature cutoffs. They treat biology like a light switch, like you're either completely healthy or you're totally sick, with no in-between. If a system's alarm is set to 39.1 degrees Celsius, a cow with an early, highly infectious fever of 38.9 degrees slips right under the radar. Biological reality just isn't that rigid, and those binary failures lead directly to that $2,000 loss.
Let's look at the solution in Section 2, the fuzzy logic engine.
That rigid binary failure from traditional systems? That's exactly why we need a much smarter brain. To understand biological gray areas, you need multiple data points working together simultaneously. The TayyibMilk IQ engine relies on this 3-input telemetry system. First up, milk yield deviation. Basically, did the cow produce slightly less milk today than expected? Second, core body temperature. Is there a localized heat indicating early inflammation? And third, electrical conductivity, or EC. This is actually fascinating. When udder tissues are inflamed, they leak sodium and chloride ions into the milk, which spikes the electrical conductivity. By fusing these 3 distinct real-time sensor streams together, the system doesn't just guess, it triangulates the earliest possible signs of infection.
So, how does it actually process that telemetry? It goes through 3 continuous mathematical steps. Step 1 is fuzzification. This is where crisp, hard sensor data is translated into overlapping degrees of truth. So think slightly elevated instead of just hot. Step 2 feeds that fuzzy data into a 72-rule Maimadani inference engine. This is a massive matrix of if-then biological rules that evaluate all 3 sensors at once, mimicking the nuanced judgment of a veteran farm manager. Finally, step 3 is center of gravity, or COG, defuzzification. This mathematically integrates all the matching rules, calculating the exact area under the curve to spit out a single, precise, unified numerical score.
All right, Section 3, live app demonstration. Let's see this thing in action. Because, theory is only half the battle. Let's look at a live, high-stakes scenario. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it handles the moderate risk early warning test case right in the agri-sensor sliders. Notice the precise data here. We've got a minus 2.0 liter yield deviation, a cow temperature of 38.90 degrees Celsius, and an electrical conductivity reading of 5.3 millisiemens per centimeter. On a traditional binary system, this cow would likely pass right through unnoticed, purely because that temperature hasn't crossed a critical threshold yet. But look at how TayyibMilk IQ handles it. The engine instantly evaluates those specific sensor readings against all 72 active rules, using the Mamdani min and max operators. Notice how it aggregates the outputs from those matching rules into a unified filled profile envelope. It's essentially visually mapping out the biological uncertainty and calculating where the exact mathematical center of gravity lies within that shape.
And boom, that calculation produces this exact defuzzified output, precisely 50.00%. That is the magic number. It triggers an immediate guarded alert status. The system explicitly recommends separating the specific batch of milk and isolating the animal for observation.
So this automated mathematical decision catches the subclinical risk before it ever hits the main supply, single-handedly saving that $2,000 bulk tank from ruin.
Moving right along to Section 4, Market Strategy and Revenue. Now that we've proven the technology is incredibly effective, the real question is, who's going to buy this? The primary target audience consists of commercial dairy farm operators and regional cooperatives managing large herds. These operators desperately need automated, non-invasive screening during live milking. Traditional lab culture tests take 24 to 48 hours, which is just way too slow. TayyibMilk IQ offers instant diagnostics, protecting those razor-thin profit margins and ensuring they meet premium dairy purity standards for the consumer market.
And this brilliantly illustrates our scalable SaaS, software as a service, subscription model. It starts with the core plan at just 99 Malaysian ringgit per month, allowing smallholder farms to access the web-based calculator. But the real commercial scalability shines in the Pro tier at 499 MYR for commercial parlors, and ultimately, that massive jump to the Enterprise tier at 4,500 MYR per month. This highest tier is custom designed for high-volume automated milking systems, or AMS, offering real-time diversion gate triggers and custom breed calibrations.
Let's ground this with a reality check in Section 5, Strategic SWOT Analysis.
A comprehensive pitch isn't just about the upside, right? Looking internally, the strengths of this system are undeniable. The multi-sensor fuzzy logic provides exceptional accuracy, catching those nuanced, nonlinear biological changes seamlessly without disrupting the milking process. However, we do have to acknowledge the operational weaknesses. This system relies on physical sensors operating in a very dirty barn environment. It absolutely requires routine sensor maintenance and regular cleaning to maintain that high accuracy. And the mathematical curves must be carefully calibrated for different, specific cow breeds to work perfectly.
Looking outward at external factors, the opportunities are massive. There's a rapidly rising global demand for Tayyib, pure, ethical, antibiotic-free milk, happening right alongside a boom in precision livestock farming. But those are balanced against very real external threats. Unstable rural internet and frequent power interruptions can totally cripple a cloud-based digital system. Moreover, there's a natural resistance from traditional farm operators who are often simply slow to adopt new digital decision tools over their traditional gut instincts.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, the three-phase growth roadmap.
So how do we mitigate those threats and capture the market? Let's move to and see how this builds out. The roadmap is strategically segmented. Phase 1, covering the first 6 months, is the MVP or minimum viable product phase. This secures the core mathematical fuzzy inference engine into the fully functional web app decision system we demoed today. Phase 2, moving into months 6 through 12, takes the tech out of the digital sandbox and into the beta phase. This involves real-world IoT or Internet of Things telemetry integration, syncing physical sensors in the parlor, and conducting pilot field testing to prove physical reliability. Finally, at year 2 and beyond, we enter Phase 3, commercial. This is the global rollout, focusing on integrating the software with high-volume automated milking systems through APIs, capturing those lucrative global enterprise licensing subscriptions. We've seen today how applying 72 intersecting rules of fuzzy logic can literally save commercial farms billions of dollars, spare animals from unnecessary antibiotics, and guarantee the absolute purity of the milk we drink. The TayyibMilk IQ system elegantly proves that when you stop treating biology as a simple true or false binary, you unlock incredible protective power. It leaves us with a truly provocative thought. If this highly nuanced mathematical architecture can perfectly secure our dairy operations, what other invisible, complex threats lurking right now in our global food supply will be programmed to expose next? I highly encourage you to keep your eyes on how this technology scales. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.
Welcome and hello everyone. Today I am presenting TayyibMilk IQ. In modern daily farming, traditional systems use rigid binary cutoff. For instance, marking a cow as sick only if her temperature exceeds 39 Celsius. However, biological systems are continuous and full of uncertainty. Environmental heat stress or minor ejections can cause temporary fluctuations without an actual infection. TayyibMilk IQ replaces rigid cutoff with a continuous Mandani fuzzy inference engine. It processes 3 real-time agri-sensor inputs, evaluates 72 rules combinations, and outputs a unified milk action priority. Score ranging from 0% to 100%, classifying milk into Tayyib, which means safe and pure, guarded, which means separate and observe, or quarantine, which means reject and vet care. Let's walk through the live applications of the demonstration. Here on the input panel, we monitor three vital sensor streams. First, milk yield deviations, measured in liter drops from cow's daily baselines, ranging from 0 liter to negative 6.0 liters. Second, cow temperature, ranging from 36 Celsius to 42 Celsius. Third, milk electrical conductivity, measure from 4 millisiemens per centimeter to 7 millisiemens per centimeter. When a cow develops mastitis of under inflammations, epithelial tissue leaks sodium and chloride ions into the milk, sharply raising conductivity. When I click healthy cow presets, our sensor record a minor yield drop of negative 0.2 liters, perfectly normal temperature of 38 Celsius and a normal conductivity of 4.4 millisiemens per centimeter. The system computes milk action score of 27.8%, giving us a green TayyibMilk status, certifying the milk as safe, wholesome, ready for bulk tank storage. Now let's observe how fuzzy system dynamically handles subtle head shift. If I select preset 2, which moderate risk, notice that the yield drops to negative 2.2 liters. Temperature rising to 38.9 Celsius and electrical conductivity to 5.3 millisiemens per centimeters. The output score immediately transitions to guarded, which has 50% of milk score. The system recommends diverting this cow's milk and placing her under observation before full clinical symptoms appear. If we simulate an test query, which is severe mastitis risk, the yields dropped to negative 4.5 liter, cow temperature to 40.5 Celsius, and electrical conductivity of 6.8 millisiemens per centimeter. The action score jumps to 82.07%, which shows it must be quarantined, instructing farm automated valve to immediately reject the meat batch to prevent bulk tank contamination and alerting the veterinary staff. Now, let me show you how the fuzzy reasoning process actually operates under the hood. Our engine uses a total of 72 Mamdani implication rules derived from 6 yield partition sets, 6 temperature partition sets, and 2 conductivity partition sets. For any given sensor error, for any given sensor reading, the system executes 3 distinct mathematical steps: classifications, which is it calculates the degree of membership for each sensor value across our triangular and trapezoidal membership sets; conjunctive rule weighting, for each rule it applies Mamdani mean operator. As you can see, the micro graph, the active rule is clipped horizontally at this firing weight. Rule aggregations, it combines all the firing rule using the max operator, merging the individual clips outputs into an aggregated fuzzy output profile. Finally, how do we get our single clip's numerical score from this continuous fuzzy shape? We apply center of gravity, centroid diversifications. The engine integrates the area under the aggregated output curve across 0 to 100 domain using the formula. The balance point produces our exact milk action practice score. If it's below 35%, milk is approved as TayyibMilk. Between 35% and 65%, it is guarded. Above 65%, it is sent to quarantine. This continuous fuzzy pipeline eliminates false alarm, protects animal welfare through early detections, and guarantees food safety and TayyibMilk compliance. That's all from us. Thank you so much.